this is your host, Julia Napini. I am a clinical and forensic social worker who owns a counseling practice and a consulting business. In this show, we discuss the challenges of being successful in business while maintaining your integrity and staying true to yourself. Join me while I interview other professionals and share insights from life and experience. Let's talk about RingRx, our latest sponsor. RingRx is a high-quality, HIPAA-compliant telephone, text, and fax communications platform. They provide seamless, cost-effective communications for behavioral therapists, medical practices, hospitals, and other healthcare providers. RingRx is designed for modern healthcare environments. They offer customizable features like a phone app, automated patient outreach, voicemail, after-hours call routing, and top-quality desk phones. Try RingRx for free today at ringrx.com. And if you sign up using the code CLIMB, you'll get 15% off your monthly bill forever. Conditions apply. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Compassionate Climb podcast. Not only are you the audience in for a treat, but I'm in for a treat. So as an Enneagram enthusiast, I definitely follow a lot of people on social media that also utilize the Enneagram in their work. And this is someone that I have followed for a while, really admired her work, and am so glad that she was willing to take the time and be here on the show today. Abbey Howe, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Julia. I'm so excited.
I'm really looking forward to our discussion today, and I am really interested to learn how you discovered the Enneagram, how that started for you, and then how that became what it is now. So fill everyone in on some of your backstory.
Yeah. So I live in California, and I moved out to Los Angeles to pursue the acting dream. I did theater my whole life. I was like ready to, take on Hollywood. I was in my early 20s. And I had a rough go of it, not necessarily yes, it's a hard industry to break into, especially if you haven't been doing it since you were a kid. But it was just, I was struggling a lot mentally. My heart wasn't really in it, but I had this if you don't know the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 3, and my core desire is to be successful, to be admired. And so I was chasing this goal with this life or death kind of feeling inside of me, but the passion and the love for it wasn't there. And so it was just kind of like running a marathon for no reason. But then if I stopped, I would beat myself up about it. So it all kind of came to a head after I was up for this part on a HBO television show that ended up not getting made. But it just seemed like the coolest thing. And I went down a little bit in the process, and then I got dropped. So basically I didn't get the part, and it just kind of shattered me. Because it was I felt like I was so close to this thing that I had been reaching for my whole life. And I reevaluated everything. And around that time, it's not your typical Deus ex machina, but I won an Instagram giveaway, and from Ivy Press, and they sent me a copy of The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stabile. And I'm a huge reader, so I just I read the book, and it was life-changing. I got to my chapter. I didn't know I was a 3, but I got to the chapter on 3, just started weeping, because it was all of these things that I knew about myself, but couldn't ever put into words, were written on the page. And I was like, what the hell is this thing? What is happening? And the more I learned about it, the better it made my life. The more I understood about myself and why I was doing the things I was doing, the more aware I was of things, I was able to course correct and make decisions based on my personal happiness, not who I'm trying to impress or what I'm trying to look like. And I feel like this is similar for anyone who loves the Enneagram, is it makes you feel not alone, because you're oh, a lot of other people feel this way and struggle with this. I'm curious about your intro to the Enneagram. Like, how did you get into it? But essentially, that's how I found it. But I would love to
Yes.
hear about you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And what you shared is so relatable. And I think that's what we're all striving for. Wouldn't you agree? Regardless of our type, we just want to be seen and understood and to find what our path is. And anything that's going to help us get there is so important. So I am trained as a therapist and I was getting into the consulting space. So I was on social media more and listening to podcasts and connecting with other people who had this entrepreneurial spirit but were trained in mental health. And I had been hearing about the Enneagram and I was familiar with Myers-Briggs and the DISC assessment. And I just happened to find it really intriguing. And I don't know exactly the definitive starting point, but I know after taking a test and discovering my number, my experience was very much like yours. You said it perfectly. It was finally seeing on a page in writing what I had been experiencing for so long, I couldn't put into words. And then from there, I wanted to share it with everybody in my life. And it's just evolved from there. So I'd love to hear how it went from this discovery that you had, reading this book, you course corrected, like you said, you took a pivot, and then where did things go from there?
Well, at the time, I've always been really into like making videos, like sketch comedy. I was taking classes at UCB and doing like improv work and stuff like that. And so I had a YouTube channel where I was like putting up the sketches that I was writing in class. And because Enneagram kind of took over my life, and I was like, I'm obsessed with this, I started making videos about the Enneagram. And they more than any other video that I made, that was like attracting people who were like, hey, I feel this way too. Like, wow, I feel so seen. And it started to become a community of people who were talking about the Enneagram online. And one struggle I think I had early on in my like figuring out the Enneagram is like, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. You know what I mean? Like there were a lot of really smart people books about the Enneagram, really dense books that felt so intimidating to me, felt so overwhelming, went way down like all the different theories, and it just felt so out of reach for me. So my goal was to try to make it as approachable and fun as possible, while also being like life-changing and like, sneaking in that like helpfulness. So, and all that to say, I started making videos. Those started taking off, and eventually I was able to get certified as an Enneagram coach. I started working with companies. That just happened naturally, that people were reaching out through social media and being like, hey, can you teach my team about the Enneagram? I think it would help our team like work a lot better. Like, we think you're really funny. Like, can you come and like kind of give our team like a breath of fresh air kind of thing? And that was so great because I think it was plugging into my inner theater kid, where it was like, oh, I can go talk to people and like, yeah, like just turn on that part of myself. And it was really fulfilling. So that became like a core part of my business, is just teaching teams, different groups of people about the Enneagram, how to work together, how to be better leaders, how to communicate so that you don't kill each other like ways. So many times people will bring me in and be like, okay, I'm bringing you in for the whole team, but really there's this one person everyone has issues with, and here's their name. And like, if you could just figure that out, that'd be great. Thanks.
Do you ever get follow-up from them afterwards as to whether or not any of it clicked and there were shifts with that problem child?
I do, but to be honest, it's very rare that the problem child actually takes things from it. What is helpful is the people who are really struggling with the problem child come away with tips and tools to deal with them. So like, for example, my friend, I did a workshop for her at her work, and she has a very unhealthy one on her team who is like corrects her like 25 times a day. And my friend is really good at what she does. Like, this girl does not need to be micromanaged, and also they're on the same level, so there should not be that much micromanaging between them. And she texted me like 2 days after and was like, I am already using everything from your seminar.
Yes.
She's corrected me 3 times today and I don't feel annoyed, because you kind of get a little bit more compassion for the person that's on the other side.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So several things stuck out to me. First and foremost, what a beautiful blend of what you originally set out to do and what comes so naturally to you. Like you said, the inner theater kid, and being able to find something that you can use this to make it more widespread, accessible, relatable, fun. So that's awesome. And then the piece that you're mentioning about when you're working with teams, I have found the same. It is so helpful to depersonalize other people's behavior, where if we don't know their number and we're in an interaction with them, whether it's our partner, it could be a parent, an in-law, it could be somebody on our team, even our children sometimes, and we don't approach it with that extra knowledge, then it's so easy sometimes, especially when they activate us, to let that be the focus of the interaction. And so as a therapist, I had a field day with this, but it sounds like you have experienced a lot of the same with that depersonalization. Anything else you can say about that?
Well, man, I feel like your expertise is probably more insightful. Just I have never heard of it that way, like a depersonalization of hey, this isn't about you. It's not really even about them. It's about
yes.
It's just things going on. I think that's what the Enneagram's good at. It takes the patterns and the things you've been doing for a long time, but just are so unaware of, and it brings them to the surface.
Yes. I heard said before, so this is not originally from me, but it, instead of putting you in a box, it shows you how to get out of the box that you're in. And I love that we all have the capacity to tap into different traits from all types, some of us more easily than others, but like everything else, it's awareness, right? And the other piece that really stuck out to me is I'm feeling right now exactly like you described when you started researching after that first initial book with Dan Siegel's new book. Have you heard about this? Have you checked it out
yet? Is it an Enneagram book?
Oh my goodness. So he doesn't refer to it as the Enneagram, but as you read through, that's exactly what he's talking about. And he's a really big deal in the mental health space when it comes to the brain and everything related to it. And so it is a heavy read. And I even find myself struggling to get through it, but I have a lot of trainings coming up next year and I want to make sure it's rooted in the research. And so I got to get through it. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Yeah. But yeah, so I can relate for sure. So explain how this has even gone beyond. So you were going into, it sounds like companies and working with teams and teaching them about this. And then how did it evolve from there? So you continued your online presence and your videos.
Yeah. And I still to this day making videos. I am a new mom. So, well, he's a year old, but it still feels really new.
Yes.
So I did take a break from my YouTube channel in particular, just because it's very intensive and I did not have time to do that with my son. So I've moved to more short form content, still teaching. And I am coming out with a book next year in March. I wrote a guide to the Enneagram. So it was it's basically everything I needed when I was in my early 20s, just wallowing in self-pity in my Los Angeles apartment. It helps you figure out what your type is and then go through different exercises and tools. I actually have it with me if you're
watching. See.
Yeah, so this is
it's beautiful. Just like all of your content is so bright, so vibrant.
It's very colorful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a fantastic illustrator worked with me on this, and she did all of these beautiful spreads. And so it teaches you about the Enneagram, arrows and everything, and then there's reflection places and exercises for you to figure out how do you stress less, how do you communicate better, how do you go after your goals, because I can't turn off the Enneagram 3 part of me. I did do an entire section on going after your goals and the best way for each type to do that. And yeah, I'm really proud of it. So that's kind of the next chapter. I basically wrote that while I was pregnant, and yeah, it'll come out when he's like a year and 3 months.
That's amazing. Well done. Can't
Thank
wait to
you.
get my hands on it. Would love to hear more about the process of, so at what point did you make the decision, I need to write a book on this? And then what did that journey look like? Because a lot of those listening are entrepreneurial spirits. They might have their own business. They're looking to diversify and do different things. So I'd love to learn more about the reality of that for you.
Yeah. Well, so I had a friend actually who worked in publishing, and the way she told it, writing a book was just not a good thing. Like it was just like if
Wow.
it essentially like she just had been in the publishing industry for a long time, and she was like, it's very rare that like you make money from it. Like it's really hard. It's basically like kind of an ego thing. So I had kind of fed all of these more negative parts of writing a book. And I was like, this doesn't sound good to me. Like I'd rather do something more fulfilling, like working directly with people or all of that. But I got reached out to by someone who worked at Sasquatch Books. Her name is Jen Warwick, and she's freaking incredible. And she's a huge Enneagram person. And she was
Bonus.
like, what? I know,
What a
right?
bonus.
Yes, because I had gotten a couple inquiries before from other people, but I think they didn't know what they were talking about, and I don't know. It's just more fun when you with someone who
Totally. When you can geek out over this stuff. Yes.
Yeah, like it had actually made a difference in her life, and so she was like, "Hey, I could really see you making like kind of a guided journal workbook with our team." And I loved her so much, and we really connected that I was like, yes, I'm doing this. Like but it just for the very first time, I think it was just like right time, right person, right publisher.
Yeah.
Like my passion was there. Like it was like everything aligned, and I just had a great time. And the team is amazing. Like this is like the work of a lot of people. Sorry, I say myself in the face.
Oh
A lot of talented people came in to make this book as beautiful and cohesive. I interviewed a ton of people for this book, so we've got like Enneagram in real life sections with stories of each type and struggles that they overcame, and yeah, so it was just like, it's a big labor of love, and
yes.
that was kind of the process through it. So, everyone goes through book publishing like in their own way. I just think there's so many different ways and lanes you can get there.
Mm-hmm. Well, what an accomplishment. Very well done, and so exciting, and really a culmination of so much that led to that point. And I'm glad you connected with who you did. So I'd love to talk a little bit about the Enneagram and parenting and motherhood. So
Yes.
I've always wondered myself, and I haven't been able to find anything concretely. So I have a 13-year-old daughter. She knows I'm an Enneagram enthusiast. She knows the basics, and she was very interested to know, okay, Mom, what do you think my type is? And wanted to take a test. So my thought is like, similarly to certain, with like mental health, a lot of times 18, we want to make sure that they've completed development. And so any insight into, I'm sure we start to pick up on traits and we can see where our kids are heading. And so much of it has to do with early development and childhood. So what are your thoughts on when we can definitively know with our children, if you have one? And then what are your thoughts throughout development now that you have all this added insight into this personality system?
Man, well, first of all, like general rule of thumb among Enneagram teachers is like, don't type your kids, because you're not supposed to type anyone, because, you don't want to like inhibit their journey. If you go up to someone, I think you're a 6, and maybe they are, but like either they're going to rebel against being told what they are, or they're going to be like, they're just going to accept that and think they're a 6, and they're not going to do the inner work. Because and something I explore a lot in my book too is just like how a lot of Enneagram types look similar, because we can all do similar actions, but the why behind it is different. Now, I think as
Mm-hmm.
parents, we do see those whys better than anyone else in your life that you would type. So like as and because my son's just 1 years old and his motivations are like food, play, run as fast as I can after the dog. Um, he's like running now, which is bizarre. He like just started walking like 3 weeks ago. Um, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but I have serious mom brain. But
So we
essentially,
don't type our kids. That's a
don't
big
name our
one.
kids. Yes,
And it's
but
way too early for you to even have suspicion.
correct. Yes, is what I'm getting at. So all of that to say, like I could change my tune in 13 years when I'm at your point where I'm like, I can
Yeah.
see a lot of things because it is helpful, to know how to parent
Yeah.
different types. And I think, I mean, my advice, like if I was like being like professional, would be like wait until they feel confident enough to type themselves.
Yes.
Um, but on the back end of that, like you can make a guess and you can adjust your parenting
Of course.
um, accordingly without like
Mm-hmm.
telling them, I think you're a 4 kind of
Right.
thing. And then
Yes.
even more than that, like learning about your type as a parent. There's so many
Yeah.
great parenting books. In fact, I've got one up here. It's called The Aligned Parent by
Ooh.
Rachel Clayton. And it's like using the Enneagram to raise children with clarity and compassion. And it
Mm-hmm.
just has a lot. It's basically not really about the kids. It's all about parents and like what
Yeah.
are your strengths as a parent? What are your weaknesses as a parent based on your Enneagram type? And how can you like be better essentially, which I think is
What
really
a great book recommendation. I did not know of that one, so I will be getting a copy. But my other thought around that is, and I can't help but look at it this way, being the therapist that I am, and, excuse the fact that I'm going to swear everybody out there, but you never want to fuck up your kids. And as a therapist, you're always thinking about how very easily the tables can turn, and your child could be the one in the seat talking about you. And
Mm.
so I think we're all very well intentioned. And if you're going to read a book like that, or if you're going to do further exploration, you're already on the right track to show that you really want to do this right. But have there been any shifts for you now being a mom that you have maybe considered things a little bit differently, or just in terms of this process with all the information and insight that you have because of this model?
Well, I knew it was going to be a mountain for me because
Yeah.
I'm very work focused. I'm definitely the stereotype of a 3, like a workaholic. That work brings me fulfillment, makes me happy, makes me feel good. I want people to be proud of me, all of that. And even when I was pregnant, I was like, oh, I cannot work at the level I was before. And then
Mm-hmm.
when baby came, we just recently started sleeping through the night, but pretty much we
Mm-hmm.
were sleep deprived all of 2025. Um, and you're just not operating the way that you usually are. So I kind of had a little bit of a death to myself, which I
Mm-hmm.
think, look, now that I'm kind of on the back end of it, was really necessary because I kind of learned like I can't plan for the next thing. I can't be constantly looking for the next thing because I don't know if he's gonna need me. So
Yeah.
like at night, I have this constant game I play with myself. So I'll be feeding him his bottle and I'll be thinking, okay, if I can get him down, then I'll have an hour and a half before I have to go to bed because I'm exhausted. And I can do X, Y, and Z in that time. But so many times I've done that I've done that in my head. He needs me again. He wakes up after 10 minutes and then he wakes up after 20 minutes. And there's just like, I have learned that you can't plan. You have to be fully present. It's a struggle. Like I'm still learning. Um, and this is just a season of life where I need to separate completely my worth from my
Mm-hmm.
productivity, my ability to get things done and focus instead on my worth as a mom, as like, am I loving my child? Am I taking care of him and nourishing him and giving him a magical childhood?
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's been a tough journey because I'm constantly thinking about, oh, what's the next thing,
Yes.
you know?
I feel for you. And that's the thing about the Enneagram is knowing that you're a 3, you just feel like you have this insight into a person. And so when you're describing this, that has got to be one of the biggest challenges for someone that is that number. And so you seem to be handling it, and you're evolving, and it's a new phase, and everything gets better with practice. But I can only imagine how hard that is. Like you're talking about, this has to do with identity and our worth. And I just appreciate you sharing that so honestly, because I think so many people listening can relate to that. And it's helpful to know that it can be challenging for all of us in different ways when we have this new role and responsibility.
Yeah. You say that really beautifully.
Well, so did you. I mean, I feel that, even just describing it, those of us that are parents can very easily go back to that time on the journey, and we remember being sleep deprived. And there's so much that happens in that first year in terms of their own development, and just not the same little human that they were when they first came out. And so I think what you said is so significant. Parenting, it is so much more, and isn't everything, right? Everything is relational. And it really comes down to us, our responsibility for our life, our happiness, our choices. And if we just keep bringing the focus back there, then we're going to figure it out. And everything else is external. And not to say that it doesn't matter and it doesn't have significance. But so if you're already on track with that, then you have an advantage for sure.
Oh gosh, that beautifully said. Yeah, it just makes me feel a little weepy just thinking about that. Like how much he's changed over the year, like insane. And like we were just along for the ride and we got changed as like not we didn't mean to get changed, but we were drastically changed. So yeah, I feel like my thoughts on like the Enneagram and parenting are still very much like percolating because I'm very much in the middle of it. But it's nice to hear from parents like you who are a little bit more like into the journey. Like, cause you're a 1. How have you noticed yourself changing in motherhood? What's that like for you?
Well, it sounds like similar but different in the sense that parenting turns everything about us on its head. We are challenged in all the ways we need to be. So for me, the challenge was, I think in some ways similar to what you were describing, but like in that phase, right? Messes and chaos and not being able to plan, which is also very helpful to me, having things organized and clutter-free. And I had to just let that go and accept the fact that my house was going to look lived in, and that, that I might not always be on time everywhere. And so, what ended up happening is I ended up with a daughter who is very much like me. She also loves things to be organized and clean, but it's not to the extreme with me. She's a much healthier version. She's a much more evolved version. And it's just been so incredible to see her evolve and grow and develop into her own person. And she really is her own unique human being. The other thing I'll say, so her father and I divorced when she was 2. So we've been co-parenting. We're both very involved. It's been so helpful with regard to that. And then in dating and finding a new partner, and now we have a blended family and he has 2 sons. It's just been transformative. We were at his holiday party not that long ago, and he is a plumber by trade. He owns multiple businesses and had everyone there take the test. And we had the best conversations, and their minds were blown, and they thought it was the coolest thing, and they're sending it to their partners and wives, and you've got to take this, and we got to know what you are. So it's just the coolest thing. So I am so grateful that I stumbled upon what you do. And I was sharing with you before we started recording, I use one of your reels in all of my Enneagram trainings because it's hilarious. And it's a great snapshot. I'll include the link in the show notes so you can all check it out if you haven't. Just every type in their essence. And so it's what I share right after I've gone through an overview of all 9 types, all the basic fundamentals. And so it's a nice segue before we get into some of the more in-depth stuff. And so I just appreciate what you do. I appreciate what you've shared. The book is so exciting. I didn't even know that you had been working on that, and that's coming out. So what a great opportunity to share that with everyone. And we have some other fellow Enneagram enthusiasts in the audience. So anything else that you'd like to share as far as, I mean, everyone should be following you on Instagram, no question. You said you have a YouTube channel. Where else should people be following along, and anything else you want to promote?
Yeah, I mean, really, that book.
Yeah.
It's my other child. So, I mean, any pre-orders for that, it officially comes out March 17th, 2026. So, but it's available for pre-order now. You can get it anywhere you find books. And I think it's really helpful. And I think that it can make a difference in people's lives. So that is one way to learn from me. I also have a Substack where I go more in depth into Enneagram topics that I feel like are harder to get to through like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. So we talk more about subtypes and triads, and we get more in depth. So that's called Talk Enneagram to me.
Love that. And you have a great newsletter. So there's that as well. And then are you still providing trainings at this point? I know that there's been a lot of evolution in your own life and transition. So are you still available to do that as well?
Yes, I'm very available now that my son is a little bit more self-sufficient. My schedule is more open up. I don't have to pause every hour and a half to go pump or breastfeed or something. I did a conference the middle of this year, and I had to stop in the middle to go pump in the bathroom. All that to say, yes, I'm still doing corporate trainings. I am still available to teach your teams if you want. That was probably way TMI, but whatever. Yes, I'm still doing that.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. And I think the key is that we can make it work, and especially when it's something that's really meaningful for us. So, final question. If someone was listening right now, they had no idea what the Enneagram was, or they were very early on in their journey, what do you think would be important for them to know that would just highlight how helpful it can be? What would you encourage them to do? Where should they start?
So if they're like brand new, like just now hearing about it, I would encourage you to find a good book, doesn't have to be mine, and just read about the 9 types. Just read an overview of the 9 types. I do love The Road Back to You as an introduction. I find it helpful to read about real life Enneagram types who, are living life as that type, because it helps you connect. And honestly, more than any test out there, I think learning about the 9 types is the most basic, best thing we can do. Is like, hey, what are the core motivations of these types? Why? And ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? Like, whatever it is that's on your mind that you're doing in your life, ask yourself, why? Why am I waking up every day and having to do 45 things before breakfast? Like, what? Really, really get down and ask yourself why, and read about the 9 types, and then take it from there.
Okay. I love it. It's been great getting to know you better. Thank you so much for being on the show and all you shared.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
If you like what you're hearing, please rate and review. This will help others find us and benefit as well. The Compassionate Climb podcast represents the opinions of Julia Napini and her guests. The information provided is intended for educational purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice. If that is what you are seeking, please consult an attorney.